Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another season of baseball in South Australia. Eric Ballner, Michael Dunn in the bullpen, Hilltop Office Supplies, all that jazz. Beautiful night for baseball, and we're stuck inside and not playing baseball.
Yeah, how are you, man?
I'm good. What have you been up to in the off season?
Well, a lot of work, a lot of rain.
A lot of rain.
Missed you back and forth to Canada like you own the place.
I was in Canada.
A lot.
I was in Canada twice.
Yeah, that's twice more than I was there.
Yeah, that's true. I grew a mustache.
I've got a good bit of a goatee too.
You do?
Look at this. It's the first time I've grown hair in 50 years.
What was the highlight of the off season?
Highlight of the off-season. Live golf is interesting.
Your highlight was watching rich people play golf?
Well, you can't actually watch it yet.
That's a cool habit.
But they've certainly put their fingers in some pies to upset some people. So I'm
cool hobby.
Yeah.
Cool hobby, Dunny.
But a lot of money thrown around there, isn't it? Wouldn't it be nice to have baseball get some of that money?
It would be. I ran an ice hockey team. We won a championship.
I did see that too.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Maybe we can get back to back and we can get the Giants one this year.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get into baseball stuff, though. Really simple show today, Dunny. You've heard the rumors of player transfers, player movements. We have a confirmed list of everybody that's moving around in the D1 state leagues, brought to you by Hilltop Office Supplies. Let's go. Brandon's just going to jump right into it right away. Let's not waste any beta breath. Sophie Fuchs from Adelaide is also coming here to talk D1. But let's jump into it right away. Actually, you know what, Brandon? Take that screen away. I've got some questions for Dunny about here because we have imports back in the league. Yeah,
which is great for the league. It'll obviously strengthen things up, and guys won't probably hit as well as they did last year.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because the screen you see right there before it had 4 imports, or 4 teams on it that were the bottom 4 teams from last year, and they have 2 imports on the league. So why on earth do some teams get 2 imports and other teams only get 1?
Yeah, so what we tried to do in regards to that situation is we're trying to make the competition more even across the board. So the only way to do that was the point system works in different ways, but then we thought, okay, well, let's make the bottom 4 teams from last year stronger so they're more competitive on a every weekend basis instead of 1 every 2 or 3. If they throw their import, let them have 2 guys, and then the other 8 only have 1, and they can pick up guys from other clubs as well. So, and those clubs seem to have taken that opportunity to do that by getting 2 imports. So let's see how it plays out.
Okay, then legit question, because that's our 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th place team that get them. If you're at the end of the season and you are in 10th place, you're not going to make finals, but you might be able to finish 9th or 8th. Do you throw games in order to get 2? Is this a permanent rule fixture, or is that going to be evaluated during the season?
Oh, we'll see how it goes. I mean, you'd like to think that people still play on their merits, but it's
I'd throw the games.
Well, that's
flat
okay.
out.
If that's what you want. But it's not so much throwing your games, but let your kids play. Let your kids play in it, and you get beaten, you get beaten. So that's fine. And if you want to do that to get 2 imports in next year, and your club can afford to bring in. That's the other thing.
Oh yeah, can you bring over 2? Yeah.
So that's the other thing. It's not just okay. We'll finish in that bottom 4 and then get 2 imports. Your club's still got to have enough money to subsidise that as well.
And what do imports do at clubs? Like, what value do having these imports have? We've just had 2 years of pretty much importless baseball because of COVID in South Australia. So what value do they bring to a community that they're entering right now?
Well, it's probably two things you look at here, depending on how experienced they are and where they've come from. They can coach higher teams in their club that they've gone to, or they become instant junior coaches as well. So you come out, you do the T-ball, you do the underage teams. They can help around the club with canteen or field maintenance or do whatever. So their knowledge of baseball is probably a lot higher than people in Australia because they've been around it for so long. And that's probably the big reasons why you bring them out here to help their players and the coaches at their club get better as well.
And then what do you do? Like, you were a coach at Port Adelaide, you're a coach in Melbourne as well. Like, when you're looking for an import, you're having the conversations with somebody to come over. What do you look for? How do you know that they're going to be a good addition to whatever community you have? There's 14, 15 communities around South Australia that could theoretically bring in imports. So how do you know who to bring?
Yeah, well, so you sit down with your coaching staff or your committee as well and go, okay, who are we going to retain from last year? Who may leave the club? And then work out what players you need to replace those players to start with. That's where you'd look at. Then you'd talk to people that, I mean, baseball's a pretty incestuous, close-knit group. So there's people, even if these guys come from America, there's people in America that everybody knows that you can go and talk to people to say, hey, what is this guy like? How's his culture fit? Is he a good person? And 90% or 95% of the time, the people that you talk to will tell you the truth. And then you pretty much assess it from that. It's pretty much all you can do, right?
Trust.
It is a bit of trust, but you trust in other people telling you the right information. And there's people that know guys through college ball, indie ball, pro ball, or whatever, you can talk to someone overseas that will know that guy that's going to come out here, and then you make an assessment from there.
What I love right now is the conversations that you have with people right now compared to the end of the season. Because if you talk to any head coach at any of the 13 clubs, every single one of them will tell you they have the best guy. They found the best guy. They brought over the best guy. They're going to win the Caps medal. They're going to everyone at their club believes that they've got the guy. Let's talk to him in March and see how that goes. But it's that hopeful start to the season, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what you want. You want to have the confidence and the feeling that you have got the best guy for your club, and he's going to do the right thing, and he'll fit into your club, and he'll fit into your culture, and he'll fit into the SA environment, and everything goes well for you, and who knows what happens in March. Maybe they do get to that the end of the rainbow.
A lot of import pitching. Obviously, a lot of clubs brought that over. So if that's going to make it harder for people to bat, what does this put an emphasis on? What does this expose if you've all of a sudden got some better pitching on the board? Is it defense? Is it hitting? Where's that point of difference we're looking at now?
Oh, well, I think your hitting side of things, I think guys will, from last year, I reckon there'd be 100 points. Well, there was 100-point drop.
There was 22 players with an OPS on base plus slugging of over 1,000 last year, which is just not right. That's video game numbers.
I think this year there will be maximum maybe 10.
Yeah.
Maybe 10.
Even 6 or 7.
Yeah. So, but I think your points average from last year, I reckon there's a 100-point drop across batting averages this year, just because every single week you will face an import guy. Every week.
Catcher's got to be better than too. Got to protect the pass balls.
Catcher's got to be good, and then the second thing is your defense. If you don't play good defense, doesn't matter how good your pitcher is. If guys hit ball into play, you've got to get outs, and if you can't get outs, it doesn't matter who's out there. They're going to score runs.
All right, let's take a look at the ins and outs of all the clubs. We'll start with the bottom 4 teams. They were Northern Districts, Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Golden Grove. Northern Districts, they went winless last year. They've brought 2 players over. Both of them can pitch. They were winless last year. They're not going to be an easy beat this year. They're going to probably steal a couple.
You know, they definitely will, and they'll play, especially, early on when teams are underdone.
Yeah.
That's when you can get caught out. And then also the midweek twilight games, when people are not available to pitch, you can save some of these guys to pitch against teams. And I'm sure Northern Districts will sit down and go, okay, where do we think we can win games here? You know, we're playing a top team here. Maybe we're not so much of an opportunity, but the Tuesday night game, we're playing someone in the lower half of the division, and we might get an opportunity to win.
Todd Marshall returns to his home ground at Northern Districts. That's a big shout out to the Marshall family. It was a big loss in the SA baseball community. Scott Marshall's. It'll be a big season at Northern Districts, and they're looking a bit more competitive. The interesting team here for me, 2 teams stand. Well, they actually all the bottom 4s are interesting. All of them might be a shot to do some damage. Adelaide brought over 2 import pitchers, and they've got Chris Sims, now their head coach there. That actually might be their biggest in Adelaide, because that's a guy that has managed and proven that he's brought over a history of bringing over imports that are always competing for the Caps medal and brought teams close or winning championships. Yeah,
well, when I was at Port, Chris was the main person behind getting our imports in as well, and he does a very good job of that every year. His due diligence is really good. And he does tend to get guys who are exceptional players. So it'll be interesting to see how those 2 guys from Adelaide stand up.
Port Adelaide, year 2 of Rue, lots of young talent, looking for more consistency as a group. There's room for a second import. They're just going to evaluate how things go. But the big one, Golden Grove, the big in there is AJ has his permanent residency. That is the big in, which means they brought over 2 imports. One of them's a pitcher. Effectively 3 imports now. That's going to put Golden Grove in position to make finals. Yeah,
again, the only thing that we as we saw last year with Golden Grove is they've got to play good defense. If they don't play good defense, they're not going to win any games.
Yep.
So if they can pick up on their defense with 3 import guys, or 2 and AJ now, they'll be a force, and they'll be around that, somewhere between 5 and 8, and give themselves an opportunity to play finals.
Here's a look at the midfield teams, the teams that just missed the finals last year: GLENELG, East Torrens, Woodville, and Southern Districts. They were in a race that went down to the final end of the season. Southern Districts won that race. Their ins is Nick Hutchings pitching for the whole season. He's going to try to get up and running for that. That's a big in. And Ethan Squeesia, another import pitcher for South. So they have 2 import pitchers. That might help a little bit. They've lost Andrew Rogers for the time being, although maybe he'll come out of retirement. And Nick Paparella could be. They're a young team. Paparella, Davies, that young Southern District side. That's what they're going to hope keeps that Cinderella story going from last year.
Yeah, the interesting thing with South finishing in the 6 last year, they have the harder draw this year, which makes it they have to play those top 5 teams more often. So they need to get better. If they don't get better, they're not going to beat those top 5 teams. So that'll be interesting to see how good their imports are and how structured their team comes.
Quick 2 words on a teams that I'm interested in before we'll throw it over to you to talk about one team in particular. GLENELG, they brought in a bunch of players from the country. So they've got Zane Judd and Raiden Wakefield. They've moved over to the club. But Jaden Matthews, Matthew Wren, Braden Morton, and Anthony Carroll, 4 country boys, Port Pirie, Mildura, Mount Gambier, and Mildura, coming over, as well as an import, Filip Kapka, national team pitcher for the Czech Republic. It's a lot of we don't know what to expect. I'm told this Raiden Wakefield kid can fly around the bases, so he'll be one to watch. But GLENELG going the country route. East Torrens, they have Riley Yateman, at least to start the season. He's back from playing professional baseball with the Padres, and Alec Lemon, a very good starting pitcher, and a bunch of young kids. You got Sebastian Heinz-Unger, Gregor Bravo, Charlie Ashcroft, always competitive. East Torrens are not going to be an easy beat. I can't see them running the table, but I can't see them. They're going to be right around that finals mark too. But that just gets us for you, Dunny. Woodville. In comes national team pitcher Todd Van Steensel. That's a big one. In comes Tyson McKee from Port Adelaide. Josh Tolles is here for the whole season. They didn't really lose anybody other than Chris Sims, who was just kind of coaching that team more so than anything last year as an assistant coach. That's huge for Woodville. And you think they could be a final shot?
Oh, I think they're a massive chance to be a finals chance with those pitching opportunities. So they score a few runs, those guys will hold teams down. I mean, Todd will only be probably a late closer anyway, but if they're in an opportunity to win those games late in games,
Tolles to Van Steensel.
Yeah, I mean, Todd will win more games than he loses. So if he goes 10-1 as a closer, Woodville, they're a huge chance to make the finals.
Here are the teams that were 5th to 2nd last year. Kensington kind of stayed put. They lost Sean Maple middle of the year last year, and Jack Platten, he's off at college right now. Whelan also has moved over to another club. Jordan Kirokawa is their Hawaiian import pitcher. Told he's pretty good, and Rob Ushy's back. But Ali Tanner, one to watch this year. He got a taste of D1 last year. He's on that Team Australia selects team at the MLB Invitational. He's a name that we're going to be hearing a lot of, and a guy that we might be saying, does he go to college? Does he sign? He's a prospect that we're going to be watching in South Australia.
Yeah, no, he's definitely he come through the under 16 nationals really well. He threw the ball pretty hard for a young kid, so. Don't expect too much. He's a young kid. He's still learning. We don't need to understand that he's not 25 years old. He's 16.
Yeah.
And he's going to get some opportunities. But if he overachieves, that's fantastic. If he doesn't, he's still very young and he's still learning the game. And he'll only get better by the outings he has.
Similar story to Aiden Prokopek over at Sturt, but they also has the guidance of another arm in Matthew Williams, Team Australia guy, over 100 games in the ABL. Big addition for Matthew Williams. Henley and Grange, a whole sweep of changes. Byron Wiley, former Bite import, former club ball player. He's over at Henley and Grange. Vassallo and Arnold can play full-time now. Jake Cairns, he's played in this competition before. He's back from Queensland. Wilson Lee will be here in December. No Darcy Berry. He's at College Basnoy. He's out. He's moved to Darwin. Giovanni Garbala is their import. Griffin Weber, full-time catcher at that team now. But it's pretty good in. He's a Giants guy.
Yeah, it's interesting that they don't have a pitcher, though, right? Unless the import
can... You mean Jordy Gross?
No, I mean as an import.
Oh, yeah.
Pitcher,
Wilson Lee, Landon Hernandez.
Yeah, but they had those guys last year and
they didn't win. So, right? That's a good question.
What are you doing? What are you doing there? If you think you need to get more pitching, maybe this guy can throw. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
But Darcy Barry and Buss are big outs. They're big outs for them. So it'll be interesting to see how the new guys that brought in stand up and see whether they can help them get to the, you'd expect them to make the top 6, definitely, but let's see what happens from there.
Goodwood waiting on their import, but no Riley Moore and no Stephen Welsh, 2 of the best hitters in the league, not playing for Goodwood this year. That's huge.
Yeah, they're certainly big outs. They're both, 350-plus hitters, so that takes a fair bit of your chunk of your lineup out. So my question with Goodwood is, where do they score their runs? That's where
they scored a bunch last year. They probably can afford to lose a few of them. But
yeah, but they're big outs. I mean, no, I don't think any team in the league has had bigger outs than Goodwood have at the start of the year.
West Torrens, their lineup is almost identical to what it was last year, and they won the flag and were near the top all year, except they've added Jared Largent, another pitcher from Western Australia, and they're waiting on their import. We'll talk more import strategy after the break. We're going to bring in Sophie from Adelaide. This was the men's or the Division 1 State League competition. The women's Division 1 has expanded this year. They've got 6 teams in it. Adelaide has, who's been a very good Division 2 team for a while, has decided to make the jump to Division 1 to round out that competition. Even number, 6 teams. One of their star players from the team, Sophie Fuchs, is here. We're going to bring her in about 30 seconds, and we'll preview women's Division 1. We'll even go through some of the changes in the women's Division 1 competition as well, because now we've got to the point in the women's D1 competition where there's player transfers, there's movement. I like it. It's becoming more legit every year. And now it feels with Adelaide in there, everything feels nice and even. No team on a bye every week.
And we can't be, we can't be far away from letting the women have imports too, probably.
I think you can bring in imports. It's just we've had imports before.
Yeah, right.
Brought in some Japanese players in the past.
Yeah, that's good.
Just ask folks at Woodville.
Let's get them.
We'll bring Sophie on in just a second. Sophie from Adelaide Angels Baseball Club has joined the show, and I'm excited, Sophie, because I feel like I'm next to a superstar. Because, Dunny, do you remember last year, the Women's All-Star Game?
Yep.
It was the All-Star Game before the Super League All-Star Game. They were playing the Giants as well, so all like the Giants players were in there. It was kind of the first launch of the Giants were in the uniform playing the All-Stars. We had the Women's All-Star Game before, and the loudest cheer that happened all night in either of the games was when you stepped up to bat. You had a whole fan club sitting in right field. I think you had a double or something like that, or he had a hit for sure. I think it was a double, wasn't it, off the wall in the right field line, and that was the biggest cheer of the whole night. So Sophie, the superstar, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys.
So what's up, Sophie? Adelaide has moved up to Division 1.
Yes.
Why? How did that thought process happen over at Adelaide?
Well, we actually did want to do this a while ago, but not having our club for a season as well. Obviously, renovations happen, and then some girls playing all different sports like tennis and whatever joined last year, and we were undefeated last year actually, and so our plan was to come up, and we made it to the finals, and then that was it. We were undefeated. We were out of the finals. But yeah, so we've just been working, like Jack's been working all the women 2 days a week, Sunday trainings as well. So the optional, third. But yeah, it's exciting.
That's a lot of training for any Division 1 team around the state. I love the commitment because, the facility's awesome at Adelaide.
It's good, yeah.
So what does that preparation look like? When are you training and what are you kind of focusing on?
Okay, so Jack actually put in a winter ball team, a full women's winter ball team for prep. And they actually won the grand final. They won it. They won for Div 4. And I had 2 girls in my team as well, and men, and we won our grand final as well. So that was a good kind of pre-season prep to get everyone to work together. But as for trainings, batting one night, fielding one night, and then just really trying to work in as a team, because we've got some girls that have come over and we're all just kind of trying to mesh together at the moment.
And how did you, the girls that you've put into your team this year, can you tell us a bit about them and where they've come from and how they've come across to Adelaide?
Yeah, so Lucy Minton from GLENELG, she's come across. I think there was just a bit of talk about it last season,
2-time premiership player.
Yeah. Yep, just, having a beer after the game and having a bit of you should come over and whatever. And that's huge because she's, played nationals and all that. And we got 2 girls from Henley and Grange, Adria Butterwick and Jade Ferguson. So they're both going to be great. I can't wait for this season.
Yeah, because that Henley sides that they were on last year were really good, because both those Henley teams made the grand final in their division and were playing against each other. So that's, again, some kind of championship pedigree that you're bringing over as well.
That's it.
That's huge. And have you been, Dunny, have you been down to Adelaide for some games? We called a game down there.
Yeah, we did a game, didn't we? Against Southern Districts, Adelaide and Southern Districts. So, yeah, they've done a fantastic job down there, and it can only get better as things go on. And
it's an awesome club culture. Like, because even when I was playing there last year with Sturt, I'm Sturt's most marketable player, by the way.
Yes.
Highest paid player, you know.
By far. You're just a marketing.
$1 a game. Get a hot dog a game. Big guy. They... After the game, all the teams are in there. They're having beers together. They're giving little team awards. They're all just having, honestly, just a laugh. Like, it's a good, fun. It's competitive. Like, I think everybody wants to be better, but it's such an inclusive culture at Adelaide. So, have you noticed kind of a change with the new facility? Has that also kind of helped in that culture process?
Yeah, definitely. I think just not having the ground there for a while, it was all away games. So now, last season, everyone came together, and like you said, it's fantastic, and it's such a family club, and everyone involves everyone. So, yeah, it's great.
So who's pitching for you this year?
That's a surprise.
That's a surprise.
We can't before
reveal.
Sunday.
Oh, my goodness.
Close sessions down at Adelaide.
Lost one game last year. That's going to be a tough first game, though. Sturt lost one game last year.
I mean, yeah, but that's...
You were undefeated.
In Div 2, but yeah.
So have you sat down and have you got any expectations? What do you know about the difference between playing Division 2 and playing Division 1 over a period of time? You obviously have watched a lot of Division 1 games, but what are the girls expecting now going up to a higher grade of baseball?
Well, number one thing was that the diamond size was different, and that's why Jack put in the winter ball team so that the girls could get used to the full diamond size. So pitching wise, I think same. You got to throw that little bit extra, but yeah, I don't know. The girls we're just all eager to just play at that level, and we all just want to wing it. You know, like I feel like you do better when you just go out there and you just hit the ball, play the ball.
See the ball, hit the ball, field the ball.
Exactly.
Because you've played Division 1 before, but it's changed so much in the last few years. So do you think that the standard has got better from when you last played Division 1 to what it is that you're going to be playing on Sunday?
Yeah, because when I started, it was when it was all one division, like 6 seasons ago. And I think it was only Nikki Taylor and myself starting then. And over the time, I think people have dropped off. So, yeah, that was completely different to now.
And now you see teams like the Seahorses that were over at the Barclay Cup. Now, and for those that don't know, the Barclay Cup was basically the first junior women's invitational tournament that states could put in. They competed against each other, and I wish we had the video. We should have brought that up tonight, but everyone was, even outside the baseball, it looked like all the girls were getting along doing the nut bush on the field and stuff like that. Like, how much do you wish that you had something like that when you were growing up playing baseball?
I know, I keep saying that. I'm old now. I'm 31 next week, so...
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I might get this one season out before I do any more injuries.
It is true what they say, when you get to 30, it's like you're walking down the stairs and like all of a sudden you pulled a hammy.
Yep, calves. Calves as you get over 30. They're the ones.
And Sophie, how did you get into baseball? What's your story? How did you get into baseball for the first time and then women's baseball?
Well, I'm a twin, so whatever my twin brother did, I wanted to be better. So I think we started T-ball, and I played right up till under 18s. It's funny because some of the guys are still coaching at the club that were my coach when I was little, yeah. And then when women's came back, I guess they just said, do you want to come back and play? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll give it a crack. And I love it. Now it's just like ball is life, and I'm there 7 days a week with everyone else.
Yeah. So who's the team to beat? And why do you think they're the team to beat? And where do you think you guys are going to sort of pan out by the time you're finished?
I'd like to think we're going to do well, but I know it's going to be a bit of a slower start, just getting used to it. Well, I think Sturt, and we have them first up, so that'll be a good look in.
Yep.
GLENELG as well. I think they've been there.
Well, they won 2 in a row, so probably a good place to start. To beat the champs to be the champs, I guess, right?
And Woodville will still be around the mark. They've picked up obviously Amara, so that's a big pickup, and they were competitive last year. They won some really the important games when they had all of their people available. Remember, they lost some guys with injury and some people getting married and different things. But when they had their full team there, they were really competitive.
Actually, Brandon, can you chuck up that we have that graphic, those graphics as well as the women's Division I movements? Because Sturt, they've added Maddie Schmidt of that's another big addition. It's like the team that lost one game just adds another state caliber player in Maddie Schmidt. But GLENELG, they added Kenzie Ween from softball, another softballer coming in. Southern Districts, they've got Charlie Young and Kate Cunningham. But Charlie Young, from all reports, can fly around the base paths. Adelaide added the whole team. And then East Torrens, you'll see your teams on the next graphic. They've got Charlotte Cousins, who Coach Chandler over at East Torrens is talking about a lot too. So there's been some player movement, a couple players here and there. Amara Quinn, a state player, but it's like state level players are now moving clubs. Like this just legitimizes it more from when it was just colored baseball teams from 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic.
And can you feel the kind of the club pride over at Adelaide? Like, are people getting around the new inclusion of the Division I team?
So exciting. Like I said, we have wanted to do it. We just haven't had, the volume of women wanting to play at that level. So everyone's really excited. I don't think anyone's even nervous about Sunday, to be honest. We just want to get out there and give it a crack.
So do you have a Division 1 team? Do you still have a Division 2 team?
We do, and the threes.
And the three.
Yeah.
You've got 3 teams.
We do
awesome.
have threes.
See, this is the point where it's going to get better, right?
Yeah.
Because that means if you're not going well in the ones, what's going to happen?
Oh, well, I can get dropped.
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, it's not going to happen to Sophie, but in the past you couldn't do that, right?
You didn't have players to do that. Yep.
And that happens in the state league competitions, right? You're going well in the twos, well then you're knocking on the door to get the call up to the ones. So I love those, and Sturt has those teams, GLENELG has those teams, now Adelaide has those teams. That's going to set you up for success, you'd think, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and all the juniors coming up too, like you said, with the Seahorses. We had, I think, 4 girls from Adelaide go to that. So, I mean...
Well, one of them's Sienna, and she's been a diehard Giants fan coming into the games for a long time, and it's been awesome just seeing people like that, all of a sudden work their way up, and you never know. She could be getting a game, and maybe the threes, the twos work her way up for the ones. Is because she's, 15 years old? Yeah,
so I think she's up one junior that can play in ones, I think, this year, so that will be exciting, and she's a little jet, so...
That's great.
Yeah.
I guess this is where you do see the impact of the league from even 6 years ago starting, is those 8, 9-year-olds that are now turning into their full athlete themselves, right?
Yep, exactly. Well, my daughter's 10 now, so I'm trying to
get her in.
Keep her in. She's been there since under 9. So
yes, Sophie, let's go.
That's great.
Well, Sophie, we're going to wrap things up with some questions we asked all our guests every year. Dunny, we'll start it off, but thank you very much for joining the show before we get to our final questions with Sophie Fuchs.
So our first question we have for you is your childhood hero, or who is just your hero?
Oh, God.
God is your hero.
I don't know. Look, I just have to say Dad, just to throw that out there.
Of course, yes. No sporting heroes or anything? Who did you love going to watch play sport when you were younger or growing up?
I didn't. I just watched my brother play, and then, like I said, just went and did what he did, yeah.
Okay. The biggest sporting event you've been to so far?
Not many either, really. Probably the Giants games here.
We need to get you out more. Don't
Yeah.
we? Okay, if you had a dream of going to watch a sporting event or any event in the world, now, past or present, what would that be? What's one dream you want to do?
It would have to be in America watching a baseball game with a hot dog and a beer, wouldn't it?
There you go. Yeah.
It's a pretty good setup.
Absolutely. And some of us have done it, and we've been to some of those, and it's just fantastic just to sit there and watch what goes on.
And finally, Sophie, who do you think is going to be number one on your Spotify Wrapped this year, or Apple Music, whatever they do for the summarize? Who are you smashing out on whatever audio app you're using?
Who are the girls dancing to in the dugout? That's probably what it is, isn't it? Eh?
Oh, you don't want to know that, but I listen to Fletcher, but I don't think anyone knows who that is.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is either.
I need to get out
some homework for me.
Yeah, that's it.
Sophie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to be watching very closely on the weekend. On Saturday is the Division I state competition. Women's is on Sunday afternoon. It all starts this weekend. Sophie Fuchs from Adelaide, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Soph.
We're going to give our predictions when we get back, and we'll wrap things up and just say goodnight. See ya. I'm excited, Dunny. Sophie's enthusiastic. I'm ready for the women's comp this year. I like that there's 6 teams.
Yeah,
right?
and it's only going to get stronger as years go on. There's more girls, as you said, those Seahorse girls, they did really well when they were away, and they're just going to get better as they keep playing, and there's more kids coming through, and, you know, it won't be long. There'll be 10 teams in women's baseball as well, and everything will be going flying along.
But with the top 4 finals, it just makes it a bit more competitive that 4 teams make it rather than 4 out of the 5. It just adds a little bit more on the line. And Adelaide were good in Division 2. And East Torrens, they're going to be better, right? They have so many kids from last year, whether it be your Ella Forresters, your Angela Mortius, and even, like, there's a lot of pride over at East Torrens. Michaela Kelly's got a lot better by all reports this year. I was talking to Paul Chandler earlier, and you can just hear the pride that he's got in that club. And then GLENELG and Woodville are well-oiled machines. Southern Districts have been around the mark. Like, there's some, and Sturt are going to be they're the wagon. They're the team to beat, right?
Yep.
That's for me at least. Sturt are the team to beat in women's.
Yeah, and they have been for a while, right? So it's just a matter of who puts it all together at the right time. And as we said, over time and as time goes on, other teams are going to start catching up, and they need to stay in front of them.
They still got Georgia Davis.
Well, that's right. But as we said though, the girls are getting better.
Yep.
So Georgia's got to keep getting better too, because if she doesn't get better,
people are going to
catch her up, and then things start to change.
I'm excited to watch it, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, let's go with some predictions. Before we get to the Division 1 predictions, let's hear your prediction just for the women's. Who's going to win the women's premiership this year?
Oh, I think Sturt are the standout team, as you said. I think just by the numbers they've got, they've now improved with getting another state player playing for them as well. So they've improved on last year, so it's hard to go against them.
I think it's hard to go against them just in the way they lost last year as well. You know, they're going to be out with a vengeance wanting to come back and win. But Woodville are my dark horse team. Yep. I think Amara Quinn's a big addition to there. She's a young player going up there. And we saw last year when Woodville had everybody healthy, not everybody sick with COVID. They were pretty good side as well.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So it's going to be wide open this year. I think it's going to be wide open. And don't count the 2-time champ GLENELG's out. So that was a wishy-washy prediction. Let's go to the men's. Let's start with yours, Denny. Here's your top 6 predictions. You can walk me through it, and your Caps medal prediction as well. But we'll start with the top 6. You have Kensington out. You have in this year. You have Kensington out, and you have Woodville and East Torrens in there. No, is that who's your one out from last year? Is there anyone?
Kensington.
Just Kensington.
Oh,
so
well,
Kensington out. Kensington out and Woodville in.
Yeah, I just think Kensington will rely so much on their import pitcher. No Moselle. So he's not playing at all. So, and they will put a bit of pressure on Ali Tanner to play. And I don't expect massive things out of Ali at a 16-year-old to be coming in Division 1 and winning games back to back to back to back. There's going to be some heartache for him somewhere along the line.
And Woodville, you like to make the 6?
Woodville will make the 6 just because they've got so much pitching. They've got so much pitching.
And West Torrens, you think, just keep humming along. They're going to win the premiership. They're going to win the top. They're going to finish top 6. Why do you think West Torrens have what it takes?
Oh, well, they win it last year, and they've improved by getting Jared Large this year.
Yep.
Right, and that's without even having an import yet.
And I like that they're going to wait for that, too, because they've got a few weeks. They got until about Christmas. They can wait and see what their needs are, right? Do they need some hitting? Do they need another pitcher? How many guys are gone with the Giants? That's a real thing. Yep. I like that they have that luxury that they say, you know what, we don't need to rush into bringing it over an import right now.
Yeah.
Even if they're 6th at Christmas, they can still finish top because all the games come in there. Like, they're going to be around the mark, right?
Yeah, and I think the big thing with West Torrens is that looking at their team, they have everybody the whole year.
Yep.
Right now they have everybody from day one to the end. Where some of these other teams are bringing in import check guys, Czech made the WBC, they're not even going to be here come finals time. Some of those teams that have got those guys. West Torrens are untouched for the whole 6 months.
And I like that you back Southern Districts to get in the finals again after last year too. I like that.
I think they've got a strong young team, yeah. And if their import is good, they will stay. And if Hutch can stay healthy and pitch well, they're definitely a chance to stay in that top 6. So they've got good hitting. They've got Nick Paparella coming through, good young kids coming through. They need to be looked after and win the games they definitely can win, and they'll stay around that 6 mark.
Golden Grove just missed on your predictions, and you're too scared to predict a Caps medal, but that's classic from you, Dunny. Let's take.
I just don't think. I think it's so hard.
Scared.
We don't even know who the. There's 12
scared.
imports. We scared.
Just make a call. Just too scared.
I'll go home and buy a dog tonight.
Yeah, exactly. You can let us know the prediction next week. Here's my predictions for the top 6. It's very similar to last year. I have Golden Grove getting in. I have Southern Districts missing. I'm sorry. Brendan Scanlon's going to kill me for saying that. And same with Nick Hutchings. I expect a message from Hutch being like, come on, man. I think Golden Grove with their 2 imports, they when they're playing well, they can do it. They can hit the ball. It's just I think they're going to figure it out defensively this year. Jake Campbell, I think, is a star. And I'm going to go, because Golden Grove, I couldn't pick a name. You're right. It's so hard. So the reason why I have my Caps medal as Conjiro was only because that if Golden Grove are going to make the 6, they're going to need their import that can pitch and hit to be excellent. So if Golden Grove make the 6, that guy has to be excellent.
Correct.
If Golden Grove don't make the 6, well, who knows? But I just think that's going to help drag him out. So I'm just going to put a name to it and say there's an import. Jackson Bremner, Russ, obviously there. I think Henley and Grange are gonna. This is the year for Henley and Grange.
What makes you say that?
I think they've been so close for so long. I think they had a rough weekend. Obviously, they got outplayed. Like, there's no doubt about that. They were good wire to wire all last year. They've lost Darcy Berry. Yeah, that hurts. They've lost Bassinoy. Yeah, that hurts. But they've got guys like Byron Wiley coming in. They've got another pitcher and Jake Cans coming in. They've got Landon Hernandez, who's a perennial Caps medal contender. Gross and Partington are now playing on the Giants, but they'll be back for the season at the end. Other teams are going to be losing guys when it comes finals time, and I just have a feeling that this is the year for Henley and Grange. They've been the bridesmaid for a while. This is the year they knock it down. That's my prediction for Henley and Grange.
Well,
but it's going to be a close competition, and this weekend, the games get out there. The schedule's up online. Every game's important. Like last year, there was only 2 points separating between like second and fourth and first. Like it came down to the last round last season. It was still up in the air who would make the finals going to the last round. And teams were looking back and saying, God damn it. I wish we didn't lose week 1.
No, that's right. And, you still have to just... No one's mentioned him so far, but Sturt's still there.
Still there.
They haven't changed much, and
they've added Matthew Williams.
Matt Williams, and and an import catcher from the Czech Republic, so he'll be decent. Otherwise, he wouldn't be coming out either. You've still got McArdle. You put Wingrove in there. Macbeth may be back from his knee sometime during the year as well. He didn't play all of last year either. So
I forgot about Matt Macbeth. I'm sorry, Matt.
They'll be the sneaky no one's thinking about the minute they think they're they're starting to fall off the block a bit. But I think
we both have them top 3 on our list.
Yeah, I think they may even still finish first.
Yeah, but we still didn't name them as our premiership winner, did we?
No. I just think that West Torrens right at the minute by gaining large and having another pitcher similar to Newborn. Everyone's got to catch him.
We just put a name to it because we had to, because we wanted to.
Yep.
That's fun, because I'm not scared to name it. Name a winner. Thanks.
You just put names in a hat and pulled one out. That's what you did.
I did. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope that was a good comprehensive look down of what's happening in the Division I state leagues, both men's and women's this season. Eric Ballner, Michael Dunn. We're signing off. We'll be back next week with Super League.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.